Hey, what's up, everybody? How's it going? I hope you're doing well. We are going to watch the movie Almost Famous for this fifth episode of Antisocial Commentary. So let's go ahead and get right into it, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, shout out to Phillip Seymour Hoffman. Phillip Seymour Hoffman died in 2014, February 2nd. Rest in peace to that legend here. Okay, so action. We are going to push play on the movie Almost Famous, the DVD. This version right here. We're going to push play in 3, 2, 1, play. All right, timer in sync. We are good to go, ladies and gentlemen. DreamWorks. Teamworks makes the dream works. Cool. Here we go. Yeah, this is one of my favorite music-based movies of all time. Like right up there with, like Whiplash or Detroit Rock City or whatever. Those hands right there are actually Cameron Crowe's hands. And Cameron Crowe actually won the screenplay for Best Picture Screenplay. Best Original Screenplay at the 73rd Oscars. And that year, at the 73rd Oscars, Gladiator won Best Picture, which I'll be doing in episode 8. But I just thought that was cool that, Cameron Crowe won 73rd Oscars, 73rd for the original screenplay, and then Russell Crowe part of the Best Picture, right? They're not related, but still pretty cool. Fun fact about Cameron Crowe, he's not actually a crow, he's a human being. Okay, no, stupid, but no. Fun fact about Cameron Crowe is that this movie was based on his life, so it's like a semi-autobiographical film, so to speak. And Anna Paquin's name there. That's a woman from Winnipeg, near one of my stomping grounds there. And Fairuza Balk's in this movie as well, and I thought that I'm just reading the credits out right now, but I think it's pretty cool that out of the movies that I've done so far, like these are all 5-star movies to me. Number 1, I did Shawshank. Number 2, I did American History X. Number 3, was that other 5-star movie. I'm tired, ladies and gentlemen. Goodfellas, and then the Thing, and now Almost Famous. But Fairuza Balk did American History X and Almost Famous. She was in, so just like what a star, right? Like I didn't realize how much of an impact Fairuza Balk as an actress had on my life until just now, ladies and gentlemen. Until just now. Right now we have the Chipmunks playing. Awesome song, classic, right? But yeah, a lot of the chapters in this in this DVD, like just judging by the look of the chapters in this fucking DVD like sleeve and that, like a lot of the chapters are like based on like songs and stuff like that, which is pretty neat. Really cool. And, oh my goodness, Kate Hudson, just so beautiful, so beautiful. All right. Have the introduction of Cameron Crowe's mother, basically. She is playing Elaine Miller, and Frances McDormand's, like my favorite roles by Frances McDormand are anything with the Coen brothers. Fargo, Burn After Reading. She's pretty awesome. She's an awesome actress. And we have Zoey Deschanel as the sister. Anita Miller. And interesting fact about Anita Miller, our leading actress, Kate Hudson, was originally up for Anita Miller. To the point where Cameron Crowe was saying that, like, you are the sister. That's who I see you as. I don't want you auditioning for Penny Lane or anything like that. But it's neat that originally Kate Hudson was going to play the sister. But I'm really glad that Kate Hudson got the main leading role. And also, Zoey Deschanel is also a beautiful and talented actress as well. The mother is actually, like, really awesome. Like, she's such a good mom, like, even though she is trying to fight the rebellion of the rock and roll era in like the 70s and shit like that. So and that actor playing the young William Miller is Michael Angarano. Michael Angarano. I can't pronounce it that well, but Michael Angarano. And he was in the movie that Kevin Smith made called Red State. And, a couple other roles, but Red State is where he stands out to me as somebody I recognize. And of course, we're cutting to when basically Cameron Crowe had to go to high school at a younger age. And we're discovering that this kid is like a prodigy when it comes to school, and grades and stuff like that. And it's written in such a way where it's not like Cameron Crowe is tooting his own horn, even though some of the parts are like really like, wow. But like, it's written very elegantly, to say the least. That's why it won Best Original Screenplay. And it had the endorsement of Steven Spielberg, so that kind of opened doorways for this movie. For this movie winning Best Original Screenplay on some level, because Spielberg always has a little bit of pull anywhere in the film industry. But what actually Steven Spielberg said to Cameron Crowe when Cameron Crowe handed him this screenplay, Steven Spielberg said, "You make sure you direct every single motherfucking word." Okay, he doesn't sound like that, but Steven Spielberg said to Cameron to direct every word. And that's how impressed by the screenplay that Spielberg was for this movie. Put my phone out there. Okay, there we go. See, that's a good mom right there, telling your son to follow his dreams. I had a good mom like that. It's a known fact, though, that mothers are tougher on daughters the way that fathers are tougher on sons. and the way that daughters are tougher on mothers and the way that sons are tougher on fathers. So this is a realistic family, family fight, family feud here between the daughter and mother. I always appreciate realism where it comes when it comes to the movies that I enjoy. I really enjoy this movie. The music throughout the whole thing is just fucking awesome. The music budget for this movie was love that part. The music in this movie was like $3.5 million, and the budget for this movie was $60 million. So considering the amount of money spent on the music, just it's worth it for like a big movie fan who loves the old school cult classic kind of movies like this, and it paid off in the long run, definitely. There's a scene in this movie where Cameron Crowe was trying to get his hands on the rights for Stairway to Heaven, but Led Zeppelin wouldn't buy into it. But Led Zeppelin was impressed by the script that there are like 3 different Led Zeppelin songs in the movie or something like that. So, and like that record collection is actually Cameron Crowe's real record collection. And if I saw it correctly on some of the videos that I've watched online with Cameron Crowe talking about Almost Famous, he still has them and he still listens to them. Like that picture of Dylan. I think that was Dylan. But yeah, this is where the symbolism of music changing his life right here. So good, dude. So good. Fun fact, my daughter Cameron is actually named after Cameron Crowe. No, I'm just joking, but like I do have a daughter named Cameron, and I just thought that was cool. And love you, Cameron, wherever you are. I hope she watches this movie when she grows up too. Like, it's a really good movie. Hope she loves music, and she's actually named after her uncle, Cameron, and her middle name is after her great grandmother who just recently passed away. Rest in peace, Margaret. So yeah, now we cut to an older version of William Miller, played by Patrick Fugit. And to get this role, Patrick Fugit's drama teacher sent Cameron Crowe a video of Patrick Fugit acting. And now we have the introduction of Philip Seymour Hoffman. Rest in peace, Philip Seymour Hoffman. He's a legend. Yeah, Cameron Crowe wanted to make a strong tribute to Lester Bangs, who had who played a really key role in Cameron Crowe's life as a journalist and starting out as a Rolling Stone writer. And he does a really good tribute to the man, Lester Bangs. Originally for the role of Lester Bangs, and you can kind of see how it would work. Well, not originally, but Jack Black auditioned for Lester Bangs. And the way Philip Seymour Hoffman was rocking out there, you could see how Jack Black would have been able to do this movie. But I'm really happy that Phillip Seymour Hoffman got to be in this movie. Yeah, the fact that Lester Bangs thinks that the rock and roll boom is like truly over or whatever. It's like it's a little bit like I mean, I know what he means. I know what he's going for. But this was before the internet and all that stuff. It wasn't until the internet and all of the streaming services that music really had that crash and decline. Like these days in 2025, you know, music is kind of like, I love it. I'm a musician myself and all that, but it's just these days there's like no real rock stars anymore. Like, I mean, there are still some good musicians out there. You got like, I don't know, Jelly Roll or like Taylor Swift. My daughter loves Taylor Swift. but like if you look at the history of rock and roll, like, Led Zeppelin and fucking Black Sabbath and all that stuff, they're like, if you compare it to that, then there are no more real rock stars. So that's what I love about this movie. The way this movie, the way Goodfellas was kind of like closer to a documentary about mafia life, this movie is almost like a documentary of the rock and roll lifestyle that Cameron Crowe was exposed to with his time with the Allman Brothers, Led Zeppelin, like the Eagles, all that, like all that stuff that he experienced. 1,000 words on Black Sabbath. Writing 1,000 words on Black Sabbath sounds more like a treat for the person who gets to write it. Rest in peace, Ozzy. Like that classic, the costumes in this movie here. Costume designer was Betsy Heimann, and yeah, she really brought everybody back to a simpler time. It's really awesome how you know the band that they made up, Stillwater. Originally, there was a different band in like the 70s, 80s, 90s, whatever. 99.9 Bob FM. But yeah, and originally there was another band called Stillwater who had that name and they owned the name. But apparently they read the script and agreed to give the rights. They agreed to give the rights to this movie, in order for it to be made. So that's why they got to use the name Stillwater for the band that Billy Crudup and Jason Lee are part of. Trying to get backstage back then seems harder than it is now. I snuck backstage for like the Steve-O comedy concert, and like one of the security guards kind of like ended up running after me. Like, I wasn't doing anything bad. I actually have an autograph from Steve-O, but but yeah, it just seems easier to when an artist is doing a show these days, it seems easier to meet them than it was back then. All of these groupies. trying to hook up with the bands. Oh my goodness, there she is. She's so beautiful. Kate Hudson. Kate Hudson is so beautiful in this fucking movie. Yeah. Penny Lane. Penny Lane is based on somebody that Cameron Crowe knows, named Penny Trumbull, if I'm not mistaken. And fun fact that connects this movie to a certain extent to Winnipeg, how Anna Paquin is from Winnipeg. Fun fact, I once hooked up with a professional woman who advertised herself as a Kate Hudson lookalike. And she actually did look like Kate Hudson, and it was fun. That's a true story. And I'm glad it's a true story. But yeah, there's the beautiful Anna Paquin, Rogue from X-Men, the very first X-Men. Fairuza Balk plugging the Robert Plant line from The Song Remains the Same there when he's like, does anybody remember laughter? The Song Remains the Same. Like, that was such a fucking awesome concert video back in the day there. My favorite part of that concert, The Song Remains the Same, is the song Dazed and Confused, where they do like a really long solo and they just go nuts, and then Jimmy Page uses the bow in on his guitar and stuff like that. Like, fucking so good, dude. The Song Remains the Same. Such a good concert video. I love that introduction of Jason Lee's character. Oh, the enemy. The inspiration that Jason Lee was going for, if I'm not mistaken, the inspiration that he was going for was from Paul Rogers, I think. I think it was Paul Rogers that he was trying to basically, like approach his character on, from the band Free and the band Bad Company. So he really tried to channel Paul Rogers playing this role. And as far as like Jason Lee goes, for me, a lot like the way I said in American History X, Ethan Suplee in American History X, I was introduced to him through the Kevin Smith universe. For me, Jason Lee, I was introduced to him through the Kevin Smith universe as well there, in the movie Mallrats as well. So another strong connection from another movie that I did a podcast for. But yeah, Jason Lee's cool, dude. One of my favorite movies of Jason Lee's is called A Guy Thing with Selma Blair. Sorry, trying to get comfortable. There we go. Fucking leather chair. I'm gonna have to buy a new throne. I love this part of the film, and I think he's just almost trying to impress the kid and all that stuff, but he kind of like forgets that he's a journalist, and then later on in the movie he's like, the chicks are great, I sound like a fuck. It's awesome. Yeah, we'll get to that part. So hot. Kate Hudson has said that this movie was the greatest experience of her life. And as far as like movies about the music industry and stuff like that go, like, thank God it was her. Yeah, Patrick Fugit, like, this is like his main role for me. Like, he was in a couple of other movies, but another more notable movie, or just as notable for me, is the movie Spun. In the movie Spun, he plays a drug addict. Couple reasons I love this movie so much. I played in a lot of bands growing up, and like there were two of those bands that I'll always hold dear. One of them was called Porno Death Grind, and then the other one was called Dead Link. And yeah, there's a member from each band. Like, I watched this movie with somebody in Porno Death Grind, and I watched this movie with somebody from Dead Link, and you know, and when I was in my like 20s, early 20s there, and yeah, I've loved it ever since, man. It's always been just a great movie, and it reminds me of the time when I used to play music as well. A note to all of the younger minds out there in the world right now. Like, whatever happened in your childhood, you got to let that shit go, or you're going to carry it through your 20s, and it's going to ruin your 20s the way I let it ruin mine. Because I look back on the days where I used to play music in a band, and those bands, like, we could have made it, dude. We could have made it in the industry, just, you know, going city to city, you know, postal code to postal code, selling tickets. Like, we could have made it. But I was too, like, trying to get over my childhood and shit like that. So get over your fucking childhoods and fucking chase your dreams out there, ladies and gentlemen. Hell yeah. So the band Stillwater, like, the band Stillwater, like the people like playing right now, they practice and rehearse for like, what was it? 4 hours a day, 5 days a week, for about 6 weeks before filming this. And a lot of the cast, that singer, that's not actually Jason Lee's voice. They should have used Jason Lee's voice, because it looks ridiculous when Jason Lee is lip syncing. Like, even though it's good, it's great. But like, the original vocalist was Marty Fredrickson, and he sounds so good singing Fever Dog, who was written by Nancy Wilson. But also, like, Peter Frampton did a lot of the music in this movie for Stillwater. And a guitarist from Pearl Jam named Mike McCready did a guitar track as well. So it's cool to see all of the rock stars helping this movie become that much more better. Peter Frampton actually taught Billy Crudup some guitar techniques and guitar tricks and stuff like that in preparation for this role. And because long time ago, Cameron Crowe did a sleeve for Peter Frampton's album, Peter Frampton returned the favor by becoming a consultant for Almost Famous. So the authenticity of this movie, even though Stillwater is a fictitious band, authenticity, awesome, setting the bar here. And the lovely Fairuza Balk, fucking love her, dude. especially in The Craft. Like, I know in American History X, she was a bit of a loose cannon there, but she was still hot in American History X. But in the movie Craft, when she's all fucking gothic and pale and yeah, wow. But yeah, in this movie, she's also beautiful as well. It's neat to see her coming off of American History X, because I think it was in 1990. Like she did American History X, and then like a year later, she did this movie. So that's pretty cool. Where's my drink? Jamming to Sweet Leaf in the background by Black Sabbath. Yeah, Fairuza Balk, The Craft, just reminded me. I just want to do a quick shout out to one of the greatest sound guys I've ever met in my life, who passed away in the last year or two here. Kraft from the Royal George on Regent there. A couple buddies and I, we jammed out there before, and we did the song The Twilight Zone by Golden Earring and the song Rock and Roll by Led Zeppelin. And Kraft was like, that was really good, man. And Kraft is an awesome sound man, so respect to the awesome sound man, Kraft, from Winnipeg. Yeah, it's a Cameron Crowe movie, so you know that it's just gonna be sweet almost through the whole fucking thing. And as far as like drama and the juxtaposition of drama and comedy, this is a dramedy for sure. In fact, most Cameron Crowe movies are dramedies. Say Anything, Jerry Maguire, this movie, all dramedies. I'll have to do a podcast of Jerry Maguire one day. Jerry Maguire is my second favorite Cameron Crowe movie, and my second favorite Tom Cruise movie. First favorite Tom Cruise movie is The Edge of Tomorrow, if I got that name right. The one where he travels through time. Excuse me. But yeah, I love how she's explaining her tragic rock life. Because she seems to be in love with Russell throughout the entire thing. But Russell is so self-absorbed and just focused on his dreams, like a man of his age should be. And yeah, there's like a futility of love there between them. But yeah, that fucking flat tummy that Kate Hudson has, okay, I'll stop obsessing over her looks and Hannah Paquin's looks and Fairuza Balk's looks. But there's Jay Baruchel. Gotta love Jay Baruchel in $1 Million Baby or This Is the End. He's a very good actor. Rock stars in this movie, it's awesome. Yeah, Billy Crudup, like the main lead guitarist of Stillwater, his connection from this movie to the movie that I podcasted before this movie, The Thing, is Billy Crudup was in the movie Sleepers, and Robert De Niro was in that movie Sleepers, who was in the movie Goodfellas, and what you call it, the Goodfellas actor. No, wait, I'm tripping out here. I can't remember the connection right now. Okay, so I'm gonna try to solve it right now. Billy Crudup was in Sleepers with Robert De Niro. Robert De Niro was in Backdraft with Kurt Russell, who was in The Thing. There you go. I made the connection. Yep. Anna Paquin. She's a Winnipeg treasure. Thank God she moved. Thank God she moved from Winnipeg. Because if she stayed in Winnipeg, then she wouldn't have become the huge success that she is. I think she was in that one show that my first baby mama Barbara loved. It was like True Blood. I think she was in that show as well as, I know Anna Paquin from like X-Men and this movie and, a couple of others, but yeah, she's a Winnipeg treasure. Terry Chen is playing Ben Fong, and then Rainn Wilson is playing his assistant. What you call it? Terry Chen. I only know him from a couple of Jet Li movies like Romeo Must Die and War, and yeah, that's about it. And then Rainn Wilson, of course, is what you call it from The Office there. And I watched every season of The Office, and I cannot remember his name right now. Dwight Schrute, that's it. Love this part. Sorry, I say that a lot. I love this part. I'll try to. But yeah, what a life that Cameron Crowe got to live, The quicker you finish school and figure out what you want to do with your life, the bigger your chances are of making it. And Cameron Crowe knew what he wanted to do with his life when he was like 15, dude. And if you don't have any baggage holding you back, it's so much easier to make it. I had way too much baggage. I let that shit all hold me back, and in the long run, we all only have ourselves to blame. But at the same time, if I had just known that I had to get over my childhood when I was younger, then God knows where I could have been, man. But yeah, this movie brings me back, though, to a simpler time where I was just some dumb kid chasing my dreams. Frances McDormand's such a fucking awesome actor. I really do love her work in Fargo, though. That accent, that sounds like Canadian. Like, oh, how are ya? It's good to see ya. It sounds Canadian, but yeah. Love the old school tour bus. Jason Lee sleeping with a magazine with David Bowie on the front. Good old creepy David Bowie took a 15-year-old's virginity, but back then that was kind of a fair trade back then. So much to the point that fucking the movie One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, when Jack Nicholson was talking about like that young redhead at the beginning of the movie. I'll do One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest another time, but it was a different time. Jimmy Page was marrying some like 14-year-old or something like that back in the day. or bringing her along on tours and shit like that. In this role, I think that that's Eric Stone Street. He was in the show Modern Family. That's where he got his big break, I think. But Eric Stone Street, I think he was up for the role of Lester Bangs, and Eric was like, I'm never going to get that. And then the crew was like, yeah, you're right. But then Cameron Crowe, cool guy that he is, was kind of like, hey, Eric, I'll try to find you a spot in this movie, dude. And yeah, the rest wrote itself. So the Band-Aids bickering. There are a couple parts in this movie that I wonder how truthful they were. I'll point out the parts that I'm like, I wonder if that was actually true. So originally, when this movie came out, the critics loved it, but it kind of flopped at the box office. It was like made for like $60 million, 60, and they only made like 47.4 million worldwide theaters and stuff like that. So that was kind of a flop. But the critics gave the praise that this movie deserves for it being like a rock star classic, cult classic kind of movie. The critics praised it, and audience, fans, people, they loved it, and eventually they made all that money back and more. I love that gulp that Fairuza Balk does. This is her best part of the movie. Second best, actually. There's another part that I like that's her best part. I'll point it out later. Yeah, the conservative mother in the 70s trying to protect her son from the real world to a certain degree. I'm trying to remember, but I think it was Greg Fry. It might have been Greg Fry or Greg Allman. I can't remember. I mean, Glenn Fry or Greg Allman, who said, I think I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, I think it was Glenn Fry who said, just make us look cool to Cameron Crowe in real life. Originally, Sarah Polley was like offered the role for Penny Lane. And Billy Crudup's part, that was offered to Brad Pitt. And then when Brad Pitt couldn't do it, Sarah Polley backed out. The thing about movies made in the 90s, I know this is a 2000 movie, like this is Almost Famous 2000. But this was still like made in 1999, and then they edited everything, right? So like the filming was there. But the thing about the 90s, It just seems like Brad Pitt had his beak wet and everything, you know. Like the way Brad Pitt was offered a role in The Shawshank Redemption as Tommy, which was given to Gil Bellows. It just seems like Brad Pitt was in everything there. Like, just pick a movie from the '90s, any movie at all. Dumb and Dumber. Oh yeah, that part played by Jim Carrey was originally given to Brad Pitt. I'm joking, but I mean, like, that's what the '90s seemed like. Give it to Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt doesn't want it. Okay, we'll get somebody else. Yeah, Jason Lee still looks ridiculous doing the what you call it, the, well, I'm not as ridiculous as a guy doing commentary for a movie that he loves, but like, it still look when actors lip sync, I still think it looks ridiculous. Like Jason Lee lip syncing what's his name's Marty Fredrickson's voice, who's doing the vocals for Stillwater. It's like when Michael J. Fox lip synced Chuck Berry's Johnny Be Good, and it was neither Chuck Berry or Michael J. Fox. Oh, there's Mark Maron. I love Mark Maron. Yeah, this role by Mark Maron, fucking awesome. Mark Maron, of course, is having a lot of beef with like the Joe Rogan universe and all that stuff, but the way I see it, man, they're all artists. They all make me laugh. I'm not gonna pick a side either way, as long as they make me laugh. As a comedian, he makes me laugh. So this is my favorite part with Fairuza Balk. Fairuza. Yeah, she does an awesome job there, yeah. That's my favorite Fairuza Balk part in this movie. So yeah, that part where Billy Crudup there, Russell Hammond, he gets electrocuted on stage. That was based on a couple of musician stories where musicians have literally gotten electrocuted on stage. Like Les Harvey from Stone the Crows, he was actually killed because he touched like a hot mic or something like that. He was actually killed, and he died from bad wiring on a stage. And then and then somebody from Kiss, Ace Frehley, I think it was. Rest in peace, Ace Frehley. Ace Frehley grabbed a microphone or whatever, and he got electrocuted, but he didn't die yet. He's rest in peace now. He died this year. But yeah, Ace Frehley was also shocked because of bad wiring. Stage mishaps in the rock and roll industry, though, are pretty common to a certain degree. Like, there were a couple of stage collapses and things like that. Can't remember who it was. That's why I'm stalling here. But like, I can't remember who it was. Their stage collapsed, and in their contract, they would say, in the dressing room, we want a bowl of only green M&Ms or whatever it was. And if they got that wrong, if like the promoter of the show and that they got the green M&M thing wrong, to them it meant that the promoter didn't read the contract that they wrote up for the show. Love that part of I'm only the fucking lead singer. But yeah, if I'm not mistaken, they requested green M&Ms, and then one time there was like yellow M&Ms inside of the bowl that they requested to be all green M&Ms, and that stage ended up collapsing due to just, carelessness. So in a way, that green M&M thing was like an attention to detail kind of thing that allowed the band and the promoters of the band to realize whether or not the people putting on the show actually read their contract. Frances McDormand does that part so well. Yeah, being a parent, it's rough on everybody, dude. Like, this is based on Cameron Crowe's life, right? And that portrayal of his mother. It's more about her caring about her son and like not trusting the other people around her son more than it is, like she can trust her son, kind of thing, if that makes sense. That's such a good joke. I think that was a subtle jab to like Jimmy Page, because Jimmy Page was such a key person when it came to all of the music made in like Europe back in that day. Like, so many tracks have Jimmy Page's name on them, or were inspired by Jimmy Page, or in one way or another, Jimmy Page. Excuse me. And that shirt is kind of like a subtle homage to Jimmy Page's popularity compared to the rest of Led Zeppelin. Just love how Penny Lane is ironing. That chick who was talking about auras has an incense, trying to clear the bad vibes from the room. Love that look that that Willie has when like he won't print it. It was always part of my dream to be in a band big enough that there's like a power struggle argument between who is like the real face of the band. Like when it came to PDG, like it was like everybody got to write their own part. Like I would write the guitar part, and then I would be like, here you go, boys, you guys write whatever the hell you want, here's the root notes for you, write whatever you want. And it was cool like that because everybody got to contribute and collaborate. But I always wish that we could just get like super famous to the point where like it just gets to my head or something, and I just get all like get all like Van Halen about it or whatever. I wish, but yeah. The band experiences that I've had though were always positive experiences. Out of all the bands that I've been in, there's only like one guy who was like way too prima donna and fucking just full of himself, pretentious. So just like, dude, we're human, dude. We're like, we should be friends. But he's one of those like, like turn your back on people who cared. I cared, and he turned his back, right? But he's still a really good musician, and he plays a lot of shows in Winnipeg these days. But still very just like, we're human, dude. It's like he never. But that's part of his genius, though. Like the reason he's a good musician is, part of his thing is to be like stuck in his ways or surly about certain things and shit like that. But yeah, man, I fucking miss doing shows and shit like that. Wish I could do them still. Once in a while I'll write my own music. But yeah, this party right here, it looks really fun. Miss being young and partying all the time. But yeah, a lot of this part is inspired by Greg Allman partying in front of Cameron Crowe, from what I've heard. Man, to party and do all of the drugs that they were doing back in those days, dude. 70s. God, I wish I lived through the 70s. I had to live through the goddamn fruity 90s where it's like Mr. Vane and fucking, like Ace of Base or something. Like fuck. The 90s sucked compared to the 80s and 70s, dude. So yeah, the character Russell is based on three people. That is Greg Allman, Robert Plant, and Glenn Frey. That's the perfect transition. Cameron Crowe's really good at that. That golden god line. That golden god thing was from Robert Plant. And that part where he says, I'm on drugs, I believe that was from Jim Morrison. I am the Lizard King. Yeah, Patrick Fugit nails this role. Cameron Crowe has been said to have praised him for being such a young actor who basically had to carry this movie. Like, like everybody in this movie is great, and that's not what I'm saying but like the weight of the role of William Miller is on Patrick Fugit's shoulders. And, just like he did a really fantastic job. for how young he was. And just imagine all of the fucking partying and stuff you would get to do after making a movie like this in the year 2000. Like Patrick Fugit probably had access to a lot of really, like powerful rock stars and parties and shit like that after he made this movie. I wonder if he utilized that. That happened to Cameron Crowe, that somebody was accusing him of being in like the FBI. How do I know you're not an agent? And then he's asking for ID and shit like that. Billy Crudup is a really good actor, and he has a lot of really great roles. I believe this is his best role. But also, my second favorite Billy Crudup role is in Watchmen, the superhero movie, where he got to play Dr. Manhattan. Yeah, it's beautiful that Russell Hammond like made those kids party. Like it made their day. It made their party, And the symbolism in this scene is that even though they're all mad at each other, power struggle within the band, the music brings them together. That's what I love about this scene. My favorite scene. In tickets Africa. That Elton John movie was actually really good. Bernie, write the fucking lyrics. Check out that Elton John movie. I think it's called Rocket Man. Just laughing because Patrick Fugit couldn't carry a tune according to Cameron Crowe, to the point where Cameron Crowe had to mute his mic when he was singing Tiny Dancer with everybody. Yeah, man. That's my favorite part. He starts falling for Penny Lane. Carl Jung, of course, worked with Freud and his findings of the... he worked with Freud. I have the book around here somewhere. The nerdy girl writing that down. But yeah, that fucking scene where they're all singing Tiny Dancer, that's magic, dude. Magic. Lester giving William notes on how to play and pique Ben Fong Torres's interest in the story. It's awesome. Now this part, I'm wondering how accurate it is. Like, did Cameron Crowe actually lose his virginity to a bunch of groupies all at once in like the 70s? I believe it. Sorry, I jumped ahead a bit here. It's going to happen in a bit though, but yeah, I love that shallow part of Penny Lane's character where she kind of comes off as a, she's not really a star fucker, but like she comes off that way. I wonder how close to the truth this part came. It was the 70s, and I only heard like amazing stories of the 70s, to the point that there are some people that I know from the 70s who are like, I hooked up with 300 women and stuff like that. And yeah, if you had the fucking party favors and shit like that back then, it was just up for the taking, dude. I know a couple of drug dealers who lived through the 70s, and they, those are the kinds that are like, yeah, I hooked up with 300 women. It's no big deal. And here I am. I'm like, hey, I got 30. Damn. But, quality over quantity. No. But yeah, I do wonder how accurate this part of the movie is. Like, did Cameron Crowe really lose his virginity to 3 women at the same time in the same hotel room? Like I said, it's the 70s, so I'd buy it. Sorry. Noses. It was nasty. I had to scratch my nose. Apologize. What a fun life. So the movie could happen. They made it seem like Cameron Crowe didn't meet Ben Fong Torres yet. But I think in real life he already met Ben Fong Torres. I do believe that Lester Bangs gave Cameron Crowe insights for how to what you call it, play the editors of Rolling Stone Magazine. But yeah, like the 3 like hottest actresses, like there's Anna Paquin, fucking Fairuza Balk, and then that other chick, I don't know her name, but I do wonder how hot those chicks were that Cameron Crowe got to hook up with in the 70s. And they took his virginity, if that's an actual true story. Good for him, man. Good for him. You know what I mean? No wonder no wonder he has such a good life and a good mindset. I lost my virginity to, well, there were two women in the room at the time. True story. But it wasn't as like awesome as Cameron Crowe's alleged cherry busting. Aw. After the greatest night of his life, William Miller in tears because of his passion for journalism and writing. That's the difference between those people who make it and people like me. Like people who make it, they have the passion for like the journalism or passion for whatever it is, and that's the difference. Like I wouldn't cry over that article. I would just throw something together. Yeah, that was a very tasteful scene. I thought there was just a quick glimpse. It wasn't like a, hey, everybody, look at these. So, not that it really matters too much, but yeah, they were actually on the phone with each other during this scene. Or at least on Frances McDormand's, and she was actually talking to Billy Crudup. So where Frances really shines. That part is so great, dude. Frances, legend, dude. The character still thinking about what Willie's mom said. He's questioning, is my life hollow? Moms are the best. They can be, like when you're the son or daughter, moms are the best. When you're a baby daddy and there's a little bit of turmoil there, but typically moms are the best. And just that part with Frances McDormand protecting her kid there, the way that she plays Elaine Miller protecting William Miller. Just a shout out to all of the good moms out there in the world. Hey Drayton, Lavina, Listen to your moms until you're 18, and then when you're 18, start thinking for yourselves. But keep what was good that you learned, and let go of what hurt you or scarred you in your life. But yeah, like I said, these rock star scenes, they're like, they practice them for like 6 weeks just to get it looking authentic. And apparently Billy Crudup could like fucking shred the guitar by the end of those 6 weeks. Yeah, the thing about guitar is it's not rocket science. Like, once you learn like specific scales, as long as you're within those scales, within the root note that it is designed, then you're able to kind of flow with whatever you want to flow. And the more technical skills that you learn, like bends and fucking taps and pull-offs and hammer-ons and palm mutes and stuff like that, like tremolo picking and like just shredding and shit like that. Like, for me, the hardest part was always fucking sweep picking. That was always the hardest part for me. But learning guitar just takes dedication, ladies and gentlemen. Good old Jimmy Fallon. Jimmy Fallon's like awesome, obviously. I'm a fan of Jimmy Fallon because of his Saturday Night Live performances more than his show. SNL Jimmy was funny because he was always breaking character kind of thing. Like, he was always like the first one. And that's sort of like what people would watch the show for. I would watch the show for the breaking of character. And love this part. But yeah, like Jimmy Fallon, Saturday Night Live days. I like what he said to Jerry Seinfeld in Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee. He said to Jerry, well, I got to watch it live. It's Saturday Night Live. Like, I love what he said that. Special shout out to Lorne Michaels. I love that movie, Saturday Night, that was made last year, 2024, Saturday Night, about the first Saturday Night Live episode. This scene right here where Kate Hudson is dancing in the debris is actually Cameron Crowe's favorite scene. And I don't think she won an Oscar for this role, but as far as I remember, I think she ended up winning a Golden Globe either. I can't remember if it was for this movie or another movie, but she definitely has a couple of awards under her belt as just a terrific actress. There's a redhead guy playing cards at the table there. I brought up the show Titus in American History X because Stacy Keach is in that show Titus, but Zach Ward, the redhead there in the right corner with his back turned away from the camera, he played Titus's brother in the show Titus. The guy who said, "Hey, brother." And he's really funny as Christopher Titus's brother in the show Titus. So go check out the show Titus if you can. Aw. Right there you can see the questioning of morality by William Miller's super ego. Like, is it right for Stillwater to be gambling their biggest fan, Penny Lane? Right? You can see that he is conflicted right there. This is from Crosby. I think they're talking about David Crosby. I love that. In The Simpsons. In The Simpsons, when David Crosby is on, and was it like Troy McClure gives David Crosby a call. David, I'm really tempted about drinking. Just remember, take it day by day, or whatever the fuck he says. That part's hilarious. This scene right here just shows you how amazing of an actress Kate Hudson is. There's such a sweetness to her character. Right now, William is disturbed that they gambled her away. She goes through so many emotions here. Right there. So good. Captivated right now. Oh, she really cares about Russell. Heartbroken right there. Look at her go from just sweet and innocent to just heartbroken in like an instant. Fucking beautiful. Aw. She plays that part so fucking well, dude. She looks so devastated and at the same time. Thank God they play Led Zeppelin right after this. After that part. And then they do the shot that is homage to The Song Remains the Same when they're going to the garden. Misty Mountain Hop. What? Yeah, another reason for glamorizing New York. Madison Square Garden and the biggest bands in the world that have played there. But also, there are so many other events going on at Madison Square Garden that none of us has ever heard about. So, but the fact that Zeppelin and all the fucking huge greats have like all fucking played the Garden, all that shit. J. Baruchel. Another good movie that he was in, Goon, with Sean William Scott and Liev Schreiber. Like I'm jealous of every fucking single actor that started young and has, like maintained a relatively, you know, a, they've been in the industry and they like, keep working in the industry. Like those are the people that I'm like, I admire the most, because like, I wish I could do that. I wish I was born into that kind of life, That dude right there was in, I can't remember his name right now. When I studied Band of Brothers, that guy was in it. And the guy before Ben started talking, he was in the show Band of Brothers. And basically at the end of the war, Band of Brothers, his character like that he was playing, he played it so well, where the Nazis were basically like walking next to them while he was in a vehicle, screaming at the Nazis, "What was it all for? What's wrong with you?" And it's just, oh man, it's so passionate. He's a good actor too, so. My favorite cover of the Rolling Stone magazine, sorry to say, I'm pretty shallow, but when Christina Aguilera posed with that blue Paul Reed Smith guitar with the dragon inlay, and yeah, she just looked gorgeous back in the day. That was like my first real celebrity crush, was Christina Aguilera. Excuse me. Yeah, another Billy Crudup movie that I saw. I went to the theater with a buddy of mine, the same buddy that share him and I share the same kind of passion for this movie. That buddy and we went to the movie Alien Covenant with Billy Crudup in it. That rock star life, like Billy Crudup's, Russell Hammond, played by Billy Crudup, his girlfriend there at the time, like consents that she is like one of the groupies or whatever. Reminds me of the story that I heard with Ozzy Osbourne and Sharon. They were doing shows, Black Sabbath, and then Ozzy ended up fucking off for a while, and then he was off banging groupies, and then later on in an interview, Sharon Osbourne was asked, like, "Oh, what do you think of Ozzy banging all of these groupies and stuff like that?" And Sharon Osbourne, super cool chick, she said, "Well, he's a rock star. That's what rock stars do." Yeah, fuck, Sharon Osbourne is awesome. My favorite Sharon Osbourne part was when somebody dissed Ozzy, I think it was. Somebody dissed Ozzy and like her family or whatever. And it was this like posh, prissy looking chick. And she dissed her family, and then she ended up pouring a drink on her and like giving her a slap or something like that. And she was like, "Don't fuck with my family, bitch." That's my favorite Sharon Osbourne part. Look it up, go check it out. I think I should start smoking cigarettes again. The part where Kate Hudson is reacting to being heartbroken by Russell, trading her away, and also Russell asking her to leave the party through the manager. And I'm not much of a, I'm not a drug addict or anything like that, but I do wonder what Quaaludes are like. Like, I do wonder how it would feel to get fucked up on Quaaludes, because this scene, and also the scene in The Wolf of Wall Street. Yep, William saves her life, dude. I do wonder if Russell Crowe missed his graduation. And again, just brilliantly played by Frances McDormand. But the way she like claps extra hard and like, come on everybody. She really is like a phenomenal actress, though, Frances McDormand. Kate Hudson's so beautiful. I had a couple friends who, I guess I can't even share this overdose story actually that I have, but like I'll share another overdose story though. Like a friend of mine was on like speed or something like that, and he was drinking at the same time, and he basically like forgot that he was taking so much speed, and then he ended up taking some downers at the same time, and those uppers and downers, and drinking at the same time. He ended up falling asleep in a snowbank, and then he died and froze to death. And yeah, that shit's not good, ladies and gentlemen. Careful with that shit. A story I want to share that I can't share. I'm trying to think of a way to share it without using the words that I'm not allowed to say because of because of the court order situation that I showed in the podcast that I did with Goodfellas. But basically somebody overdosed while they were pregnant, and I can't tell you who, what, where, when, why. Wish I could, but Canada's like Russia in the way that it can take your freedom of speech away. I'll share that full story in my book in 2029 when I can publish the whole truth. But back to this movie. Sorry about that. I wish I could tell that story because it relates to this so fucking much. But Judge Bride said if I tell stories about what really happened in regards to certain people, I'm not allowed to. Such bullshit. I'm telling the truth though. This is the thing, right? But one of the things that I love about doing this podcast is I can share with you stories from my life that relate to this, but I'm not allowed to share with you that story due to Canada taking away my freedom of speech. Isn't that fucked? But yeah. Basically, Wilma Flintstone Fred Flintstone, they're partying and what you call it, and Fred Flintstone doesn't do Percocets. Fred Flintstone doesn't do Percocets. So Wilma Flintstone is pregnant with Pebbles. Wilma Flintstone is pregnant with Pebbles, and Wilma Flintstone visits Fred Flintstone. And while visiting Fred Flintstone, Wilma Flintstone tells Fred that Wilma took too many Percocets, way too many Percocets, to the point where Wilma Flintstone was on the ground in the apartment overdosing. And basically Fred Flintstone had to monitor and watch over Wilma Flintstone while Wilma Flintstone was overdosing in Fred Flintstone's apartment. And that is my way of telling you what happened. This part's so fucking good. Because she recalls the kiss that William gave her and the sweetness that William showed her the entire time was the same sweetness that she showed Russell Hammond throughout the entire movie. I believe that there was a Cameron Crowe nearly had a plane crash with The Who or something like that. And that's where this scene kind of comes from. The guy in the cockpit reading the Bible, or saying that prayers. This part's awesome, so I'm just gonna watch this part here. That's how it was in the 70s. Jeffrey. This part where William finally flips out. That's how it feels, dude. Fugit does so well in that scene. The comic relief after just such an intense moment where everybody finally gets it off of their chest. That scene was magical, dude. Fucking magical. But that's how it feels, man. Like, you know, there are still, you know, like Fred Flintstone loves Wilma. You know, like, that's how it feels, you know, that I love her. I love her. That's how it fucking feels, you know, like, well, the way he said that in the movie there. It's how much Fred still loves Wilma. Just that walk of shame and just a lot of emotions flaring through that fucking scene in the movie, dude. So fucking good. Yeah, right there. Like right there, I thought everything was going to work out for William. Originally, this movie was called Untitled. And, you know, when Cameron Crowe was passing off the script, it was like, yeah, I'm calling it Untitled. And I was like, oh, okay, you mean you don't have a title for it yet? Okay, I got you. No problem. No. The title is Untitled. Isn't that awesome? And then eventually, because people call their script Untitled, just overall, like it seems like a not very original name. And then eventually they went to the title called Uncool. And then finally they reached out and got the name Almost Famous. And dude, perfect title, perfect script, perfect movie. Another perfect storm of very talented cast members and crew members, led by a director with a very strong vision, resulting in just such a good movie. I wish I saw this in theaters, you know. Maybe I'll get that. Maybe I'll be able to see this in theaters in 2030 on the 30th anniversary. Excuse me. Cameron Crowe wanted to get into the reality of Lester Bangs and the reality of a journalist who loves music, the reality of being alone in your own living room or whatever, surrounded by a bunch of records and shit like that. Like his interpretation of Lester's lifestyle as a journalist, it comes off very insightful, like the way they conveyed and portrayed in the movie. See, and there was one of the titles right there. I'm always home. I'm uncool. Very good advice. But yeah, that title, Almost Famous, like, dude, such a good title. I'm glad they didn't fucking call it Uncool or Untitled. Yeah, that speech that he had at the beginning of the movie. So the in real life, the band apparently to fuck with Cameron Crowe. They denied the story at first, and then later on, they're like, "Yeah, okay, it happened." But yeah, the title, Almost Famous, and then the band denying the story. Like if they had published that initially and got the actual cover story that William was promised, like they would have been extremely famous, like dude. At least that's how I see the title, Almost Famous. How do you see the title, Almost Famous? But yeah, that's why it works for me. And it's art, so everybody sees different things when they watch this movie. But that's what I see when I hear the term Almost Famous. That look that he gives her. The look that Fugit gives that stewardess reminds me of the look that Steve Martin gives that receptionist in the movie Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. I'm so glad that Sarah Pauli backed out of this movie. Because Kate Hudson as Penny Lane, for me, made the whole fucking ride that much more. And just, I'm picturing Kate Hudson playing Zoey Deschanel's part right now. Gives his mother a nudge towards his sister. Cameron Crowe's really good at doing that, man. It's like like everything in Jerry Maguire that he did, like all those techniques that he used to pull at the heartstrings. Same techniques in this movie. Works out so well there. Because like the mother and daughter didn't really have to say much in order to generate an emotional response from the audience. That sweet Zeppelin song playing in the background. Sorry, I was just so into this movie right now, guys. It really is like the perfect movie about the music industry that used to be. Now what you call it, the way they screwed him over, and then like just the way that he doesn't really mean to make amends, but then right now he's trying to like get back in Penny Lane's good graces. The way Penny Lane sends Russell to William's house. Like that's just, it's a really like beautiful ending for it. That's how it always goes too, man. Like when you're ready to take a relationship serious with some women who were not as serious, they fuck with you, dude. But yeah, the way she sends him to William's house. Again, just a shout out to Betsy, Heimann for all of the old school like rock star attire and stuff like that. Like a friend of mine would say, it costs a lot to look this cheap when it comes to when it comes to that rock star life. And yeah, the costume designer does a really good job throughout the entire movie, bringing the 70s alive. Sorry, Francis always makes me smile, I guess. Love that little pose she does to present herself to the rock star. This part where he gets duped by Penny. It's a brilliant ending, dude. Another shout out to Good Moms. Love you, Mom. The way she's like being a motherly figure to basically everybody in the story that she meets. Sounds like Cameron Crowe had a really good mom. Especially since he graduated when he was like 15 or 16 or whatever. Yeah, I love the posters in his room. The Who, Black Sabbath, Lincoln, Jimi Hendrix. Sorry, my stomach's growling. Hungry. Wish I could find a girl to care about me. You should have told him the truth at the beginning, you son of a bitch. At least he makes amends for it. Sincerely, Cameron Crowe. So Cameron Crowe wrote this movie as a love letter to rock and roll, baby. And that ending with Russell saying that, what do you love about music? Everything. That was the perfect show of affection towards rock and roll from Cameron Crowe to the entire world, dude. The band drives into the sunset. Penny Lane, we're left to believe that she's in a happier place where eventually maybe her and Russell get back together. And maybe this time Russell takes her a bit more seriously because his other girlfriend hooked up with his other bandmate and all that stuff. So, like, just everybody's left in a good place, even though that poor kid gets screwed over when he writes his awesome his awesome article to Rolling Stone and stuff like that. But it's one of those movies where it has full resolution, and just like, man, I always feel good after watching that movie. I always feel good after watching that movie. But that was it, ladies and gentlemen. There it was. Almost Famous, year 2000, directed by Cameron Crowe, and definitely one of the greater music-based movies of all time. And there's Peter Frampton as a technical consultant in the credits there. So it's just very authentic as far as I am told, as far as I have read, as far as I've heard about, and as far as I have listened to through the Led Zeppelin records that I have bought in my life and the Black Sabbath records I have bought in my life. Like, I had that box set. There's a big box set with like that, what you call it? Like, it was like, I can't remember what the fuck it was this big fucking square thing, and there was a box set with 1, 2, 3, and 4 inside them. I bought that, and it was so fucking expensive back in the day. And like, those albums changed the way I look at music, and I actually learned how to play Stairway to Heaven, like, all the way through. And I've always loved that gag from Wayne's World. Hey, no stairway, denied. But yeah, man, music really does make the world a better place. If you have a musical gift inside of you still, find a way to share it with the world, ladies and gentlemen. And yeah, again, this is just one of my favorite movies. I consider this a 5-star movie, like every other movie that I've done so far. Eventually, I will be doing 4-star movies, but for now, I'm picking movies that I think are 5 stars. And for me, that movie is one of the best movies. But there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for watching Antisocial Commentary, episode number 5. Where together we watch Almost Famous, starring Billy Crudup, starring Kate Hudson, starring Patrick Fugit, and so many other good people like the late and great Phillip Seymour Hoffman, who passed away 2014, February 2nd. So, yeah, rest in peace, Phillip Seymour Hoffman. My favorite Phillip Seymour Hoffman is actually Owning Mahoney. It's a gambling movie about, like a troubled gambler who steals from the bank that he works at. But, yeah, that was Almost Famous, year 2000, Antisocial Commentary, episode number 5. If any of you made it this far, I appreciate you for watching the whole thing with me. Thank you. Cheers, love, respect. Signing off now. Cut.